And welcome back, everyone. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. This is what I call my morning musings. Currently in the midst of a discussion and an examination of Dr. William Lane Craig's reasons for rejecting covenant eschatology, i.e. preterism. And before we get into that, I want to remind you I have a brand spanking new book out. It is The Hymenaean Heresy. It is an absolute, total refutation of the charge that modern-day preterists are a revival of the Hymenaean heresy. There's not another book like it anywhere. Take a look on my Facebook page of how to order this book. I'm paying shipping. And by the way, this book also interacts extensively with Keith Matheson's book that came out in 2004, I believe it was, on When Shall These Things Be. I interact with that book a lot. Anyway, you need this book. There's not another book like it anywhere. You'll love this. It will give you the answers to respond to those who say, if you're a preterist, you're guilty of the Hymenaean heresy. Order your copy of that today. Very special offer. Okay. Dr. William Lane Craig rejects the imminent statements of the New Testament. Number one, because of what he calls textual or contextual ambiguity. He says we just don't really know the context in which the imminence time statements were made. But then, of course, ironically and self-contradictorily, he turns around and he appeals to statements that speak of a delay in the Lord's coming. And he says, oh, we have to take those time statements seriously. We have to take those objectively. Well, do we know the context of those delay passages any better than we know the imminent statements? No, we don't. Not according to Dr. William Lane Craig's argumentation, because he says we don't really know the context of Matthew chapter 24 where these delay passages are found. So if we don't know the context of Matthew 24 and its statements that those things would occur in that generation, then we don't know the context for the statements that the coming of the Lord would be delayed. Now, one of Dr. Craig's chief objections has to do with the fact that he says, Jesus said, this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to the nations, then comes the end. Dr. Craig says, we're still doing that 2,000 years later. The gospel has not yet been preached into all of the world. That demands a long, long time, 2,000 years so far. Therefore, the Great Commission, which has taken 2,000 years so far, mitigates the time statements that that the parousia was to be in the first century. Well, folks, this is really, really quite a bad argument, with all due respect to Dr. William Lane Craig. It overlooks the fact, and by the way, in my book, Into All the World, Then Comes the End. And by the way, this is really quite a distinctive and unprecedented examination of this doctrine of the preaching of the gospel into all of the world before the parousia. But as I show in the very first few pages of this book, every word that Jesus used to predict or to command the preaching of the gospel into all of the world, Greek word cosmos, to every creature, Greek word ktisis, into all of the earth, Greek word gi, into all of the world, oikumene, and to all of the nations, ethne, or ethnoi, excuse me, every word that Jesus used to say it will be done or go do it, Paul used those exact same precise words to say it had been preached to that extent. Now remember, Paul got his gospel, he got his message from Jesus. So here is Jesus who predicted the preaching of the gospel to every creature. Paul said in Colossians 1:23, the gospel had been preached to every creature under heaven. Well, was Paul wrong? Did he not understand Jesus' message? Well, if he was inspired by the Holy Spirit, as he says he was, and if he understood Jesus' message, and he said he did, And if he knew of Jesus' prediction to preach the gospel to every creature, and he did, and if he said it had been done, then he was either mistaken or perhaps the modern day understanding of this gospel shall be preached to every creature needs to be brought into line with Paul's understanding of it. Get yourself a copy of this book. Into all the world, then comes the end. Go to my website, eschatology.org, BibleProphecy.com. Order the book. Mention that you saw the offer on Facebook or YouTube. I'll refund your shipping. Saves you almost $5. You will be absolutely blown away with how powerful and with how clear the testimony is that whereas Jesus said the gospel would be preached in all the world as a witness to the nation, then comes the end, in every New Testament book except one, the New Testament writers say the gospel had been preached into all the world and the end was near. Incredible testimony. So get yourself a copy of this book today. We will continue to examine Dr. William Lane Craig's objections to covenant eschatology, i.e. preterism. On the flip side, we'll see you there.